that. I'm like, no, but this is really good. Yeah, whatever. But anyway,
and then I remember being really excited for Harmony and Dissonance because it was that was a really Iniga-vania. It was like
Right.
sort of more of the direct lineage. It was
Right.
and it had the Yami Kojima artwork and blah blah blah. And I bought.
but the level design for that was even worse.
Yeah, I imported it.
Everything about the game is good except the music's not so good. But the level design is just
it's
confusing and disastrous.
Yeah, it's a really overcomplicated game that's not really that good in retrospect. Like I tried to replay, so I imported the Japanese version and I like went crazy playing the Japanese version, completely beat it to death, and then the US version came out and I thought, I love this, I'll play it again, and then I'm like, oh my god, it wasn't good.
The one thing that makes me happy about that game, I imported it too. I was like, yeah, Castlevania, oh boy, and played all the way through the import version and even figured out how to get the stupid best ending, which was just incredibly obtuse and annoying. But at the very end, you start fighting these skeletons with whips, and they look like Simon Belmont. And if you look at their name, it's Shimon. Like she, death, and Mon for gate. So that's also how you pronounce Simon in Japanese is Shimon. And I thought that was very clever.
Really,
and I was like,
is that what Michael Jackson was saying?
Yeah,
the whole
Shimon.
time? Oh.
Right.
Shimon Belmont.
I want to say one good thing about Castlevania Circle of the Moon, because we've already kind of disparaged it enough. There was one great moment that I remember, is that as soon as you get the item that lets you jump really high, or that lets you jump infinitely high, and lets you finally get into like the upper sections of the castle or whatever, and you're feeling really powerful, and you're like jumping, and you're like bursting through shit. You go up finally into like this upper level that you can finally get to. And Vampire Killer, the music kicks in. And I just remember thinking when that music kicked in, I felt
just
so
gets
powerful.
real.
It was like, that was the only like really good feeling I had
that
about
was
that
back
game.
when Vampire Killer actually had some cachet, and that whole trick hadn't been used over and over again and all again.
Yeah, basically.
Now, there were some really good moments in Circle of the Moon, but the problem with it is just that everything was so random. Like, it had that card system, and all the drops for the cards were random. All the items you can get, there were no shops. So if you wanted health potions and stuff, which you really needed to survive because the enemies just took so many hits at the end, you had to wait and get random, just farm for random drops for potions. It just sucked the fun out.
It was a launch game, and it was an incredibly ambitious launch game, and it's got a lot of flaws.
It was the most amazing portable game I'd played at that point in that kind of action milieu, but it really aged badly right away.
Yeah.
Dan, what do you think?
Well, for me, Circle of the Moon kind of ruined it because I felt like my character was just too small. It was almost like I was like a child running around a giant house.
It was like Home Alone.
No, I don't mind that. Like, I actually like having a small character because then you get more of a sense of context for what you're doing, and considering that the resolution on GBA was pretty small, I think it was good to have kind of a tiny character so you didn't feel, like when you look back at old Game Boy games and you have these sprites that are half the size of the screen, like in Metroid Return of Samus, it's really hard to play when you have any kind of athleticism because you jump. And your jump will actually take you out of the area you can see when you start your jump. And you're like, oh, I just hit enemies that I couldn't see when I started my jump. That sucks. So I like not having that. I appreciated the fact that they avoided that, but...
From a scale perspective, just like I felt small. It felt like it took me too long to get places. Like everything just felt too large.
Yeah, I agree. I would go back to the bad level design. Yeah. I would, because I remember the level design it seemed like there was one room that was just like they tried to make it like a complete zigzag. You know what I mean?
Was it the room with the gears? And
I can't remember exactly what it looked like at this point. We're talking a long time ago, but I remember thinking that like they used every possible square of of wall to make it as long as possible to just make you navigate. And I just remember
Harmony and Dissonance did a lot of that too. There were a lot of places where you had to like spend 10 minutes on one screen moving up and down and around and around.
All right, folks, we're 12 minutes and 2 callers in.
Oh my God. We didn't even talk about Aria of Sorrow, which was awesome.
Yeah, Aria of Sorrow was like finally, because it was like, I mean, Symphony Night was obviously just like a lot of people, was one of my favorite games ever. So I felt like all I want to say about it is, Aria of Sorrow, I was like, finally,
right?
Like
they finally recaptured,
got back to that
right?
level.
Not just the good game balance, the a really interesting game system, but also really good level designs.
Everything came together. Personality as well, because like the whole like Juice Belmont and all that crap in the second one didn't really set the world on fire either. So but like the Soma story was like very cool, and they just sort of recaptured the spirit. And I played it on GBA Player, as I said to the other caller, and that just sort of was like that was a legitimate game experience up on like a high level for me.
Unfortunately, that was kind of like the high point for Castlevania, and it's all been slowly downhill, and then it's actually a bell curve. It's gone downhill faster and faster the further.
Yeah, and Dawn of Sorrow is great though.
Yeah, it is. But then after that, anyway, thanks for calling, Dan. We're moving along.
So while we're waiting for the next caller, very briefly, as someone who's only played Dawn of Sorrow, should I go back to any of the GBA?
Oh, Aria of Sorrow. If you love Dawn, Aria is arguably better than Dawn. I mean, technologically,
it's shorter and smaller, so it's kind of got less fluff in a certain way.
Yeah.
Obviously, doesn't look as good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, aside from the technology, like the game design is really great, very tight.
I will do it.
And it doesn't have the pentacle scratching.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Only that one though.
Hello, thanks for calling. Welcome to Retronauts. Who is this?
This is the Crazy Kirby Kid, short for or
KKK.
Crazy Kirby Kid. I hope one of those is spelled with a C. It's crazy spelled with a C, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll say that for now,
What is your Game Boy Advance related comment for today?
I just wanted to talk a little bit about Mario Kart Super Circuit.
And not Kirby?
Oh yeah.
No, not the Kirby games this time.
I guess he's not as crazy as we thought. So what would you like to say about Mario Kart Super Circuit? I have my opinions about that, but I'll wait and let you speak first.
I really appreciate that game for two reasons. And one is that they kind of kept the coins in from the original Mario Kart, and I think coins are a very important part for a